Thank you, Molly, for getting our computer. Okay, all good. Excellent. Our 2 seconds are up. So we have an approval from Molly Lazier to approve the April minutes as posted. And do I have a second?
Second, Lindsay Moore.
Thank you, Lindsay. All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. Love it. All right. Committee reports. Gonna zip through these. Treasury.
Our checking account balance as of May 1st, 2023 is $9,886.60. And our activity in April was several deposits for new members.
Excellent. Thank you. Charity.
Okay. Well, as always, we are continuing to collect every month. I do want you to know, even though we're collecting, right now is not a time to deliver because I don't want to inundate Pathfinders or certainly the Milwaukee Public Schools. So I hang on to these, and as soon as it gets crisp and cold, we make that first delivery. But still, please keep donating. And of course, the Christ Child Society baby shower is coming in September, and those are such fun knits. It's the little sweaters, the booties, the blankets, the little cardigans, and you know, it's great if you can do a gender neutral color because then we don't have to worry how many boys there were or how many girls, but they love all of it. So thank you. And it's great if they are machine washable.
What size do you want for the sweaters?
Oh, thank you. Sweaters, newborn to I think the biggest that they really, really like to have is 6 months. Yeah. Anything over that, yeah, they don't want that. So, but thank you again for all your generosity. And look at me, I got something to take home today. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Charity. Education, which we don't really have. I actually have a little deal about education committee. It has not been super active for like 4 years. So we'll talk about that a little later. Membership.
We have 50 members in attendance tonight. We have 3 guests and 8 new members.
All right. Thank you. Programs. Mary's not here. I don't know why I just asked that. I have been taking over Mary's duties with the speaker stuff, so I should know that. But anyway, my brain is not braining today. I don't think there's a whole lot of programming stuff from Mary. I know the next, Go ahead, Molly.
I am the presenter next month. You will be getting instructions in the newsletter as to if you want to knit along with the project, what the pre-work before class will be. The program is about designing your own sweaters. I only teach top down. I'm sure it can be done bottom up, but I don't know that. So if you have a book with a picture of a sweater that you would like to emulate and it doesn't have a pattern, that's okay. Just bring the picture. Bring your stitch dictionaries. Bring the yarn you want to use. You will have a swatch by the end of the year.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Molly, for sharing about that. So yes, I was going to say, I know our program presenter next month is Molly. So thank you very much. Events, Kelly is also not here, but there are some social knits coming up. They are all on our Facebook page. So they are always listed. We had our last community knit at Cream City Yarn this last weekend. It was delightful. Strongly recommend anyone who wants to come out and just hang out with a bunch of people, come join us at our community knits. They are a great deal of fun. Publicity newsletter, anything on your front?
I wanted to introduce Erica Straven. She's going to be the new newsletter person.
Yay!
She'll take over in September, and we will be working together to do a smooth transition. So this is Erica.
Very nice. Welcome. Excited to have you on board to help with newsletter. Okay, Stitch and Pitch. Anything else we need to know about Stitch and Pitch? I know Nicole is here.
The tickets are in. You can pick them up anytime, or if you need additional tickets, we still have a few. I don't know the exact location of the tailgate. but I will get that out to you. And, when you pick up your tickets, and I put it in the email if you want some, this specific door that we need to go through. This is the only door that they're not even committing.
Good to know.
Are you gonna have kids for the,
I have some merchandise, for brewers, I have a cowl kit, I have a specific, brewer's colorway, and then I have the brewer's colorway next with some minis for like a sock kit or whatever you want to do with it.
that's on sale now? This will be staffing up. Thanks.
Excellent. All right, thank you for that update. State fair, anything we need to know? Is Karen here? Yep, okay, I was thinking I saw you earlier.
Yeah, the date to enter is the 24th of May. And there's a really nice, it's a really easy way to enter. And you can print the State Fair entry blank, you can mail it in, or you can just email it in with your money. Another good thing about entering State Fair too, the judging is fun to go to see and see what how the judges judge and what they say about the different knitted items. That's June 22nd, I believe, I think, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, it's a good way to show off your knitting and
I think
it's
June
fun.
22nd is when you have to hand it in. I think the judging is later.
Oh, the judging is, yeah, the judging is late.
Judging
You're
is a
right.
couple
June
weeks later.
22nd is when you have to enter,
Yeah.
pick your item.
Yep.
Too, so if I fill out the entry blank and send it in, say I'm gonna enter a baby Afghan and pay my money, then I take it on June 22nd to the State Fair exhibit office there, the one, the Wisconsin, what's it called, Exhibition Center right across from the big hall. And then the judging is not until like maybe the week before State
I
Fair.
think so, yeah.
Um,
Lauren and I both did it last year and they everything's labeled really well. Like, so if you go in there, you know right where to go.
Right,
It's,
yeah.
Yeah, it's great when you drop things off. I think it took me a grand total of like 5
Easy,
minutes.
Right, it's really nice. Yeah, so please think about entering. It's fun and it's a way of promoting knitting too.
And
And as
Karen,
far as the, I have the ribbons for the awards, the Guild is sponsoring 4 different entries. So I have the ribbons for that, and I'll get those down to State Fair when I go. And what else can I tell you? Oh, as far as, the volunteering to knit in the State Fair sheep barn, that I haven't heard from Carol Black yet, from the useful, EWE, useful gifts in the State Fair, but that I'll let you know about that at the next meeting, hopefully.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so with that wrapped up, we are on to old business. I wanted to start old business with the website, and I really, really, really want to encourage us to take a vote about the website to pay our website developer tonight. She has put in a lot of work. She's really been communicating heavily with Colleen about a lot of ideas about what this site is going to look like, about what we want to include. And so the main vote that we're really taking is this worth investing in? Is this something that our guild actually needs? I would like us to be able to vote to give our web developer the initial $500 deposit that she is requesting because she's put in a lot of work. So if there's any discussion, I'm happy to talk about it some more, but I feel like a lot of the discussion we had last time was really kind of detailed discussion that can be resolved in committee. So I know we have questions, we might have concerns. Those are all things that the committee can kind of deal with as they're working with the web developer. So I think the overarching idea is that, do we need a website and can we get started on that, please? So,
Can I move that we pay the $500 and you can have discussions after you get a second?
absolutely.
I second.
Okay, so name, can I get your name shouted out? So
I'm
Holly,
sorry, Rosemary Muller for the first.
thank you, Rosemary.
Karen Ubelacher.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Mary?
I just, am curious, will there be any kind of a mock of what the website is gonna look at that we can see, coming up, or?
Yeah, as she gets started, there will be. She's actually starting already to send those ideas and those thoughts. And so as we move along and get a little closer, we may end up with some choices, actually. And so one of the things the committee can do is kind of narrow some of that down and then bring that for us, I think, to take a look as we go on.
And I recommend that the committee and the board makes the decision. You have too many people sitting here with.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, is if we start narrowing this down to the 60 opinions we have in this room, it's gonna, yeah. So committee delegation is fantastic. It's one of my favorite things.
Committee, the board, and if that's all approved, then
Yes. Yes, I think that I agree with that. Yes.
Any idea about final budget?
Remind me.
It's going to
Colleen.
be dependent on exactly what we decide. I
Right.
know that there's a bit of a range depending on how fancy it is and everything that we need to put on it.
Correct, yeah. She, initially what she had talked to us about was, her fee would be $1,000 to get it up and running. And then there will be some small monthly fees, that will be ongoing in terms of hosting the website and that kind of thing. And yes, some of those fees could grow a little depending on how elaborate our website gets. And as we go along, those are things that we can work through and decide.
Yes.
But that's the initial startup cost.
Is there a backup program in case nobody looks at it? You know, like you only get like 20 people a month looking at it, that it isn't viable at that point, or? I mean, I don't know if there's a backup
Yes.
plan. you know?
Well, I think that if it's not viable, if it's not being used, if it's not being utilized, if there's no traffic, if no one in the guild is looking at it,
Right.
then I think we can just take it down.
Yes.
And then we can stop the hosting fees, nothing is being paid out of pocket. So it's really, I hope that's not the case.
Right, I just wanted to know.
But yeah, I think it'd just be taken down.
Right, okay.
Molly,
I would suggest that if you have questions, if you're interested in what's going on, volunteer to be on this committee.
Yes, please.
I call for a vote on, let's get the $500.
yeah, I agree. So the motion has been moved and seconded to cut that check for $500 to our web developer. I would like to see a show of hands, all in favor. Excellent. Okay, that looks like a majority to me, so I will say the motion carries. Fantastic. All right.
Question, so I'm the treasurer, so I write the check, who do I see it all right?
You can.
Colleen has been kind of our point person thus far. All right, excellent. Other old business, we have one other piece from last month's meeting. We talked about Jeanette Budge from Shetland coming to offer a talk for about 75 people. I will say that she is available July 21st or 22nd, so we've kind of narrowed down a date. We are still looking for a possible location that will work on one of those days. But it's looking like that is going to be a viable thing. So we had a lot of interest from that. We can open it up to the community as well. So July 21st or 22nd, Mary and I are working together to set that date and make it final. But we're also looking for a host maybe to offer Jeanette a bedroom to stay in, because this is a self-funded trip. She is paying for it herself. So she's looking for a place to stay that night. So if anybody would be willing to open that up, talk to me or Mary about that. So if you have that availability in that room in your home, that would be lovely.
Laura,
Yes,
remind us again what her topic or her specialty.
she is a Fair Isle knitter from Shetland. So she would be talking to us about Shetland knitting.
What's her name?
Question.
Oh, yes, sorry.
So we have some money, I believe I heard in the treasury,
Mhm.
can we afford to pay for one night lodging in a hotel?
I would be fine with that too. It's just Jeanette directly asked me, would you be able to is there someone who would host a room? So that's, I mean, I'm happy if we want to put her up in a hotel. I think that's a lovely idea as well. So. Yes, I love the idea. I know that's what she emailed me was, is there somebody who can host me? So.
Maybe she meant so that I don't have to pay for a hotel when she said host.
Yeah, we
So
could
I
probably
think
offer
that's
her.
about
Yeah, I'm
it.
fine with that. I just know what I was told. I only know what I know. So yeah, absolutely.
doesn't know.
If we're comfortable as a guild, so putting her up in a hotel for a night, I think that's a lovely idea.
Does she have transportation?
Does she have transportation?
Like-
I believe so, because
Airport,
she mentioned that she was going with a friend to another part of Wisconsin too, so I think so.
She's in Minocqua the day
Yeah.
before.
So I think she's traveling with a friend, so I think they must have some kind of transportation. Okay, All right,
Okay,
so
then when we're asking, there needs to be, I assume, lodging for the friend, you need to make sure about that too.
yeah, and I'll double check with her about that, but she only asked about herself, so I'm not sure if she anticipates that or not. Yes,
If we're going down the lodging at a hotel, we may, and since we're also looking for a venue, you know, there's a lot of hotels that have a meeting space that might be appropriate for what we're doing
Mhm.
and might make it convenient for her.
yeah, I will definitely talk about that with Mary as we're kind of settling into these details. So yes, I think that's a great idea, and I can chat with Mary about that. Thank you.
What month? What month?
July, sorry.
21st, 22nd.
All right, so just wanted to clear that up. If there's any further questions and things, like I said, Mary and I are kind of ironing out details. Too many words in my brain. All right, moving on, new business. We have a deadline on this first piece of new business because elections are upcoming. So we need a nominating committee because elections are held yearly according to our bylaws. So we just had an election last year. We need to prepare for another one this year. We need a nominating committee to nominate our board positions. If you are a member in good standing, then you are eligible to be an officer. If you are interested in officership, you think you would like to do my job or Jenna's job or Colleen's job or Kathy Matthews' job, you are welcome to talk to anyone who will be on the nominating committee, but we need to find a nominating committee. So is there anybody who's interested in volunteering for the nominating committee who thinks they have a good idea of like who can do what within our guild and who would be willing to tap potential officers for the next year? I would also say that I think the current board is willing to do this another year if you want to keep us around, but we do have to be officially nominated and elected.
So we can
Discussion.
nominate you all tonight and this is over?
No.
So nominations are in June. So next meeting will be nominations, which is why we need to set up the nominating committee if we're wanting to nominate people for next month. So if you're interested in being in the nominating committee, that is fabulous. Is there anybody here who would be interested in doing the nominating committee? I think last year there were a few. I think it was Carol Trinastic and yeah. Thank you. So if you would be willing to do that again this year, or if you.
I'm wondering if you could just describe what the nomination committee actually does.
Yes, so nomination committee is in charge of nominating the board of officers. So they are going to be the ones who kind of go up to people and say, hey, would you be interested in being our next president? You seem like you have some good leadership material and we'd like you to be in charge. And if they are interested, then you formally nominate them at the June meeting.
And how do people that are interested, they have to go through the committee to be nominated?
So yeah, so I think the best idea there is that if you are interested, you would talk to someone from the nominating committee and say, hey, I would be interested in being next year's secretary. And then the nominating committee brings all of those nominations to the floor, and then we have our election in July. Make sense? I'm really bad at this because I'm kind of new to this too. So, Julia.
I was gonna ask what the process was too, but sure, I'll be on the nominating committee.
Oh, all right. Woo-hoo. All right, so Julia's on the nominating committee. Thank you. Anyone else interested in nominating committee?
Well, don't worry, we've got more jobs for everybody to do, so.
Yes, we're gonna talk about that next.
Don't hesitate to volunteer for anything that.
I'll be on it.
Thank you, Lisa. All right. Yeah, I was told earlier this evening that typically the treasurer also serves 3 years, but that is not in our bylaws. Our bylaws say that we hold an election every year for all of the boards, for the board positions. So if we want to change that in our bylaws, we can absolutely discuss that. I think that that might be a wise choice because holding a new slate of officers every year seems exhausting, especially if you're changing them out every year and you're like, nope, tired of this one. And so I know it's taken me about a year to get okay at being the president. So if we have a new president next year, it's probably going to be a little growing edge. So yes.
I will say what I've seen in some of the other groups I'm involved with are, 2 to 3 years, and they typically are kind of offset, so your entire board doesn't rotate on or off at the same time.
That's smart.
So there are elections every year, but usually only about half of your
That's a good thought.
positions are up for election of your key officers, and then same thing with like, most of those groups, in addition to, your president, secretary, treasurer, just have, I'm gonna call them at-large board members. And those have, some are single year, some are 3-year terms, and so that way, like you're talking about, because some terms, and I think a lot of these do need to have 2 to 3 years for learning, especially for that first timer. And so that may be something as you're doing your board meeting, you may want to discuss just how to make it less disruptive, but yet keep the flow going.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Lindsay. Molly?
What was done in the past, before we got hit with the pandemic, is we had somebody shadowing each office. So you would be the vice president the year before you were the president. Or you could be the, assistant programs chair the year before you were the programs chair. Now, not every office is elected, many of them are appointed.
Yes.
But the ideal was that you weren't having an abrupt turnover because there was somebody who was shadowing you while you were, so first you get trained, and then the year that you're holding the position, you're training your replacement.
Yes, and that's great for when, like, for example, your vice president wants to become the president. Jenna, you want to be the president next year?
No, thank you.
Then you run into that stuff.
And the
So-
other thing, the nominating committee historically would first approach the existing board and say, do you want to continue or do you want to be replaced? And that was a big part of how the slate was made up.
That makes sense. Thank you. That helps a lot because, again, very new. This is year 2 in the guild for me, so I don't know a lot of these things. Molly, your wisdom is very appreciated.
Not a big mouth.
No, your wisdom, you know all the things, so I appreciate it. Okay, any further discussion about nominations and nominating committee? Yes.
Just a question on that. So if we were to decide collectively that, we're going to change the terms on some of the positions, how would we go about doing that? Would that be something that the board decides, or would there be discussion next month?
So this is in our bylaws, which means that it has to come to a quorum group vote. So we would discuss it probably at the next meeting if we're going to be talking about changing the bylaws. I'll put it in the newsletter about like what that wording would look like in our bylaws, and then we can take a vote on that as a group next month.
I think what Molly said about the transition and about asking you, do you want to be the officer again? I hate to say that's kind of an understood thing within the group, because I did help work on the redoing of the bylaws and all that, and some of the people who did the most work are not members anymore, which is kind of sad, but that's a different issue. So the suggestion that the treasurer was a treasurer for 3 years, I think some of that might have been because there's so much involved with the paperwork at the bank and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely understand the reasoning for it, but it's just not in the bylaws.
Right.
So anyone who's new and coming in, that looks like there's an election every year.
Right.
So we need to, I think it'd be smart to put that in our bylaws so that people who come in, who are new, who haven't been, a member for years and years, have that understanding and have that right in front of them. So I think that would be a wise idea. Mary?
I'd be willing to be on the nominating committee.
Yay! All right, thank you. Thank you.
Cheryl?
Cheryl, okay.
I was just telling her my name. I had revised bylaws before organization, so if you need my help in wording it, and then you can just present it, and people can say whether they like it or not.
I love that. Thank you. I will be in touch. Thank you, Cheryl. All right. Any other discussion about nominations? Excellent. Moving on. Committees. This is the, I think, last thing we need to talk about tonight. Committees. We are trying really hard to expand our committees and make them actual committees and not just committee chairs, because our committee chairs are doing the most right now. They are doing a lot of work, and having some other people that they could delegate some of that work to would be phenomenal. because they're doing all the things and they shouldn't have to do all the things. So we were going to talk a little bit about what those duties and expectations were, what they kind of need help with, and if you read the newsletter, the folks who I got emails back from, excuse me, I talk all day, lose my voice. The folks that I got emails back from, I listed those in our last newsletter. So I gave little like brief expectations about what our committee chairs are looking for in their new members of their committees. I've also got a couple of updates from the chairs that I didn't hear back from via email. So just to kind of talk about the different committees, what they involve, what they entail. We wanted to talk through that and then ask for some volunteers for these different committees so that we can have lots of people doing a little instead of 2 people doing a lot. So if you read the newsletter, I hope you did, then you got all those expectations. You did not see charities though, because we had an email flow. So charity, they determine the guild's service and charity projects every quarter. The decision for any new charity is finalized by the membership, and then the charity committee collects, counts, stores, and distributes on a monthly basis the items that are donated. And they're stored in bins provided by the guild. Monthly reporting of donated items and numbers are given during meetings, during our committee updates. And every September, we host a baby shower for the Christ Child Society. It's the committee's responsibility to throw that together with a budget provided by the guild as well. And then they said that you can see them for any other questions, comments, concerns regarding that committee. So that is what charity does. I also heard back from State Fair. They coordinate guild members to knit at the sheep barn at State Fair during the week of State Fair. Anyone who volunteers to do that receives an admission ticket and a parking pass in exchange for knitting for 4 hours. So you are being compensated a bit for your time. You talk to fair goers and encourage knitting with wool. So when you bring your project, make sure it's a woolly one. Sometimes get children to make a stitch or 2. It's fun. It is delightful. I did it last year. It's coordinated with Carol Black at Useful Gifts. They supply the store in the barn with wool items for sale. The other State Fair job is to pick 3 to 4 State Fair knitted categories, which the guild will award a cash prize for $30. They tell the State Fair those categories so that they can be advertised in the State Fair brochures and emails. And you obtain your reward ribbons from the trophy store on Greenfield and take them to State Fair when they are setting up the displays so that they can attach the ribbon to the winning entry.
Here's a quick question.
Yes.
Can you find out how many people are on those existing committees already? I mean, so far.
Yep, currently it's just the chairs. So Sherry and Lou run the charity committee. Karen Lemmer has been doing State Fair. So like I said, we need committees,
Do you have
actual
a
committees.
goal for how many additional people need to be on each
You
committee?
give
Like,
me
are we
like
shooting
2 or
for
3 people?
2 or 4 or 6? I mean, I guess I'm not sure. What's a full committee look like?
That's a good question. I think that it will depend kind of on the committee, right? Like State Fair doesn't do a whole lot outside of like the actual State Fairy times, right? So that might be a smaller committee versus charity, which does all of the collecting and depositing and bringing of items to the charities that we support. That might be, or we might want that to be a little bit of a larger committee so that that work is split up more evenly. So I don't think that there's a set number exactly, and I would say that maybe the chairs can think of like what a full committee is going to look like depending on what you do. Does that seem acceptable? Okay, sorry, I'm a teacher. I'm like, does that answer satisfy you? Does that answer your question? All right, the last one that I heard back from was also Karen, and that's the education committee, which included working with West Dallas Recreational Department and providing knitting classes to their residents. The teachers were our guild members who volunteered, and the classes were in the evenings during the school year. They also did a children's knitting class at a West Dallas school. It also says we have not done any classes for about 4 years. Interest dwindled, guild members dropped also, and this activity needed money to our treasury at a time that you needed money for rent to pay for your space. So I can't remember the amount we received from West Dallas Recreation, is what Karen said. So we were, I guess, compensated for providing that education class via West Dallas Recreation. But that's something that I would really like to start up again. As an educator, I think education is really important, and it's how we bring our craft to the younger generation. I am currently teaching a group of 3rd and 4th graders how to knit, and it is a delight to see them like get it. So highly recommend teaching small children how to knit, super fun. So if anyone is interested, and Karen, I don't know if you want to continue being the chair of that committee or if you would like me to appoint a new chair of that committee. What do you think?
I would like, I'm kind of a temporary resident here in Wisconsin, and I would like to have someone else take it over. Plus, West Dallas Rec Department requires, us to let her know what the class is going to be, exactly what they need and all that, so they can publicize it.
Sure.
And that is a good, 4 to 6 months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So there needs to be someone here who
Absolutely.
would be here in the winter, so.
Okay, that absolutely makes sense. So is there
I
anybody?
would gladly help when I'm here. but-
Fantastic. Is there anyone who would be interested in taking over the education committee who's like super passionate about teaching people how to knit and really has some connections within the greater Milwaukee area and help with that? Is there anybody here who would be willing to do that?
I think it'd be a part of it. I don't know if I can take it over. I'm not always available.
Sure.
Who is that?
Janice.
My name is Janice. I'm a children's librarian and I've taught it at my library. I've taught knitting to kids all the time. I mean, not formally, but kids who have nothing to do in the summer. So, and I've done that for many number of years. I just work a few nights a week. So I just don't know if I can take it over completely, but I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
But
Karen, can you tell us about the people who actually volunteer to teach at the class? Didn't they get some kind of a membership, Rick?
They did. Yes, we did get, the bylaws changed, so we don't get that anymore. But yes, the people who volunteered did get, the membership for the year paid.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. We can talk about that.
Our guild
Yep.
membership.
We can talk about that as we're talking about updating our bylaws and discussing that. I think that's a good thing to do. Or even, half price membership or something.
Yeah, why did you change it? Do you know why?
I don't know, I was not here and I assumed that it had not changed.
Yeah, I saw it in the pre-revised.
Yeah.
Does anyone know why?
Is it in the standing rules maybe?
No, it was
No,
in
it
the
wasn't.
bylaws. It was in the edited bylaws, I
It was
believe.
in the edited bylaws. And it was nice, we did get more volunteers. Because it is on an evening, it was like one evening per week for, I think, at least 4 to 6, it was 6 sessions.
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
they-
so that's
they-
a lot of time that
it
you
was
should
a-
absolutely be compensated for in some way.
Right, and in the winter,
Mhm.
it's not fun going out to.
And you have to be there because
Can we put that on the agenda for next month?
Yes.
it's usually
Yes.
one-on-one.
Revisit this.
Have a new language proposed to reinstate that in the bylaws?
Yep, we can discuss it next month when we have a little more time.
What time of the year are those classes in West Dallas?
I think the education committee would be able to determine that. So, they would be the ones in charge of contacting the
They usually
whoever
have a winter
they're working
session and a spring session. And then the summer school was just students, and that was at a different school, on 101st and I think it was
Dakota.
Oklahoma. Anyway, that summer session was, teenage girls, and then we did a 8 to 12-year-old session.
But that can change too because, things are shifting, things are changing, so whoever's on the committee can kind of determine it. Sorry,
We
Karen.
can tell West Dallas Rec Department what class we want to present. And there were times when, we had no students signed up. So the class was dissolved. And
Sure.
we told our guild members, nope, we don't need you, because we don't have the.
Well, and I imagine it doesn't have to be West Dallas
But that's
Recreation
only happening
Department either. It could be, Boys and Girls Club or another organization that might work with us to offer those
Well,
classes.
Right, but if it's, the reason why we did West Dallas was they paid us, they paid the guild
Okay.
for these classes.
Okay.
So it did bring money into our treasury.
Okay.
It was really needed.
All right. Okay.
Um,
Yes, Jenna.
I was just gonna say, it's kind of a lot of information to take in. So maybe since it's written in the newsletter, we can revisit it.
Yep, I'll put this in the newsletter for next month,
Yeah,
because
so-
this is not in the newsletter because it wasn't given to me until
Yeah, yeah.
tonight, so.
Yeah,
But I will
like,
put it in there and we can look at it and we can discuss it next time.
Yeah, just, like you don't have to feel pressure to like volunteer today, but
Mhm.
kind of think about which things you might be interested in
Yep.
doing,
Yep.
who in the group you want to work with.
Yes.
But there's a lot of opportunities to kind of dip your fingers in a lot of different areas.
So other committees that we have openings on the committee for, Mary has a co-chair for her membership committee now, which is fantastic. And I think you have another member as your committee now too, right?
Partway, yeah, she may and may not, but we're good with the two we got,
Okay,
so
so you don't need anybody else
I don't.
membership. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. That's great news. Publicity.
Lauren.
Yes, sorry.
Quick, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, go ahead.
Going back to charity, that is open. So that position will be open, and if I was gonna ask, how, like, for 2 chair people is what it's been run, and if I was gonna ask after having done this, how many people to help, I think a group of 4 would be really wonderful.
Yes.
So, but it is really rewarding. It's a lot of fun. Lou and I have done it for like 6, 7, I don't even know how many years, to be honest. And I would love to share the wealth of the joy. And it's very joyful and it's very rewarding. And everybody does such generous, beautiful work. So we would be happy to speak with anybody on that. And
fantastic. All right, thank you. We also will have our, right now it's set up that publicity and like Facebook and the newsletter are all one big mega committee. And we are actually going to be separating those. So newsletter is going to be its own thing. Publicity is going to be its own thing because they are 2 very different monsters. So newsletter requires a lot of effort and energy and things in just that one section. And publicity also requires quite a bit of energy and effort on its own. So we're looking for somebody to take over the publicity chairmanship because it's new. And anybody who would be interested in doing things like taking pictures, posting little blurbs to Facebook or Instagram, or when we have our website, submitting information to the website committee to involve on the website. That would be what publicity is doing. We are adding a technology doctor to our committees. I am currently happy to serve that role because I know a lot about Ravelry and Instagram and Knit Companion, and I know some folks have questions about those things. Little great, fantastic knitting resources that maybe you don't know a whole lot about or have questions about. And I am happy to help with that. If anybody else wants to take over Tech Doctor, happy to do that too. Happy to give that up. We will have a website committee. We have a chairperson for that. The chair is Karen Ubelacher. Sorry, I am the absolute worst with names. So Karen Ubelacher is our chair for that. If you are interested in joining that committee, I know we have several that were interested in that last meeting. So if you are also interested in that and you're like, I have all the questions about the website, would like to be involved, talk to Karen, please. And we'll have to probably take a vote on this because, again, not in our bylaws, but we would really love to have a DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion committee as well to kind of foster inclusion, foster diversity within our group, and make sure that this is a welcoming space for everybody who would like to join us. Make sure that we are just a lovely little rainbow of human beings. So if you are interested in DEI and promoting that diversity, and if you're really good with welcoming people in and making them feel like they belong, love to have you on that.
Does that include crocheters?
Remember, I know this is a knitting guild, but we're working really hard to be diverse in our crafting too. This is the whole fiber world. We love everyone in it. So yes, that does indeed include crocheters and spinners and weavers and all the folks that you think might benefit from hanging out with the knitting guild in Milwaukee. All right. I feel like I'm missing some committees. What am I missing? Help me out. That I haven't talked about. Yeah, publicity. I didn't talk about Stitch and Pitch because that hasn't been going on for a while. I didn't talk about like the Stitch and Pitch committee. I know that's been KG. Can you tell us kind of what your committee usually involves or used to involve before the pandemic knocked us down?
Jackie Hiley helped me. And what happened was she connected me with someone in the brewer organization, and then COVID happened, and I had words with them about it anyway, because they were pulling out of Stitch and Pitch, and they were pulling out of bead world and whatever else was. So we had a little discussion, and then with COVID, I'll say they lost, and they were like, well, I don't think it'll ever come back. So I was so grateful when Cream City said, hey, we can just do this ourselves. So I think it's kind of defunct, I'll say, as far as that. If we can work with Cream City that once a year we're gonna do this, I think that's awesome.
Okay, Cream City, are Cream City folks back there, are you planning on making this an annual event?
Probably.
Okay, fantastic, all right. So we can maybe take that again out of our bylaws, since currently it's in as a committee. So we can discuss that as well next meeting. I also forgot to mention events. Kelly Joyson is currently our chair of that. She is not here today, but I'm sure she would love to have at least a couple extra people to kind of look around, talk to yarn shops about our community knits, talk to any available like farms and places around to set up events. So that's kind of what her committee would involve. Any questions, comments, concerns, discussion about joining committees, about getting involved in committees, about what's expected?
I can report on an event.
Thank you, Mom.
I was the only person to sign up for the last event. Now, at present, our events, if you want to know about them, you have to watch the Facebook page. Kelly and I went on a fiber farm tour that was hosted by, I believe, Manitowoc County. We went to, I forgot. Londonderry alpacas and Velvet Farm, I think, is the sheep farm we went to. We found a really good place for lunch. And Velvet told us that they had some of their product in the Purple Turtle boutique in Port Washington. So then we hit this boutique and Kelly bought some yarn there. And they had gift cards and other things. I spent more than I intended to. Then we stopped at the Chocolate Chisel for dessert, and then we came home. It was a great time. I think if we had realized in advance that it would just be two of us, maybe we would have canceled it, but we had a blast.
Good, I'm glad. That sounds delightful. And yeah, you really got to keep an eye on that Facebook page for any events that you might be interested in. They are good about updating them.
I think she's posting knitting at open air outdoor concerts this summer.
Yes, I saw there was some posts for even like as far out as July, I think maybe even August. So keep an eye out, and we hope that
one
people
was
join us.
at Border Botanical.
Mhm.
The other one was at, I think, the Downtown Music on Mondays. I saw that she posted on Facebook.
Yes.
And if I remember right, that one is usually behind like Discovery Zone.
There's one in Lake Park I posted.
Yeah, and Lake Park was one as well.
That's also Monday nights.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was several that she posted.
Yeah, lots to look for, and we'll try to put these in the newsletter as well.
Okay,
Sorry,
and
yes.
there is a Wednesday night one, if you're looking for one in the heart of the city, at Washington Park. They start 1st of July to the end of August. 3 bands, food trucks.
Nice.
All that kind of stuff, parking. If you don't know where Washington Park is, half a mile north of the stadium. So very easy on and off that.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and then, Bayview has their music series,
Mhm.
on the hill,
Mhm.
or
Chill on the hill.
Chill on the Hill on
Yeah.
Tuesday nights. And it goes all through the year, off the summer, food trucks, all that kind of stuff as well.
Okay, so all things to watch out for, and yeah, we hope you can join us in some of those. All right, I don't have anything else to say, so I will shut up. Is there anything else that I don't need to say? Rosemary?
Yes, I've not seen anything about anything in the city, Knit and Public Day in June. Is stuff happening? I'm not seeing it on Facebook, but
I also have not seen, sometimes Molly has something to say. Molly?
Yes, there's a group that organizes Worldwide Knit in Public Day. I don't know who they are, but they are at the Cudahy Library that Saturday.
But I'm not seeing anything up on them.
Okay.
So, watch Facebook. If I see anything about it, I can share it in our group.
I was gonna say, I think Kelly did post something about it, but I don't know that she had a location yet.
Yeah, so we will put that on Facebook. We will put it in our newsletter when we have solid details as well. So keep an eye on your newsletter for next month, for June's newsletter, and we will put that information in there. All right, anything else? All right, who moves to close the meeting?
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Cheryl. And second. Thank you, Crystal. All right. All in favor?
Yay!
Huzzah. Have a great night, everyone.
Okay.